Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us for this latest episode of the INC Preview Show. My name is Karl and joining me as ever, my colleague, Mr. Tim Close.
Hello there.
Unfortunately, we don't have Max Grant with us. Max has got some prior commitments. It's a bit of a shame though to join though, because we've got a fantastic card.
Yeah, I always feel like we get a bit of conversation with three of us as well, but definitely he's missing out a little bit, Max, but that's his loss, isn't it?
If it makes you feel better though, we'll just, CGI in or something.
Well, yeah, we could do, couldn't we?
I mean, all these deepfakes, like they're getting so good, you can just make people seem as if they say or do anything.
Well, we could get someone more interesting than Max then.
I mean, someone did a deepfake just last year and made it look like Cyborg got knocked out.
Quality.
Yeah. Thank you very much once again for tuning in to the preview shows, and I want to say a big thank you to anybody who has been supporting the channel over the past 2 years we've been doing this. It does take a lot of time and a lot of money to actually put all of this preview shows together, so any sort of support that you can give us will be greatly appreciated. So if you can contribute to the link below, www.patreon.com/itsnotcagefighting. Anything from $1 through to $10 will go directly towards this channel and making it as good as we possibly can. We've got a lot of ideas coming up over the next couple of months, so please stay tuned to INC. For now though, we're going to be turning our attention to UFC 241, and after a fairly lackluster card in UFC 240, what could be a return to form.
Yeah, this show is definitely a step above the last card, isn't it? I think we have struggled last time, but good card coming up with this one.
And I'd say we didn't do a preview show for UFC 240. We had obviously some commitments ourselves which we couldn't contribute to. If there was a card which was worth missing, no, it was that one. I mean, good performance from Max Holloway.
Yeah.
Frankie Edgar, he gave it his all, and I think we both have a soft spot for Frankie.
Definitely.
But you never felt as if he was ever truly in that fight.
No, I know. It's a hard one, isn't it, to say when, like you say, you like someone so much, but I like Max as well, so it's fighting really, isn't it?
And I think as well,
sometimes your favourites can't always win.
And I think as well, Frankie has said he's going to be moving down to Bantamweight as well.
Well, I suppose it's maybe the right time to do it if that is the case. So see what he takes to that division.
And I think as well, this also gives us the opportunity to talk about some of the big stories which are happening in the world of mixed martial arts. And also the first opportunity that we two have to talk about that knockout, Jorge Masvidal.
Unbelievable. It's just, I think I watched it 300 times. I mean, because it was so short, you could afford to watch it 300 times. It was crazy. That fight could have took place 1,000 times, and that would only happen that once. It looked so. I can't criticise him really, because it did look poor how he come in and that. But you know, in that fight, in that moment, you don't realise. You know what I mean? In that split second, he made one. It's unbelievable. Honestly, unbelievable that it was.
I think it's going to be very hard on Ben Askren as well, because Ben Askren is a fantastic fighter. Obviously, all the success he's had. The
next day, social media talking about him, saying how poor he was, and I just, you just can't be bothered with people, because you think, the kid's he's an athlete. He's one of the best in the world, and he makes a bit of a mistake, if you'd like. He gets beat for the first ever time, and people are on his back. But that's people.
Reminds me of what happened to Aldo after the McGregor fight.
Yeah, that's just the public for you. But I think he will bounce back.
Apparently, he's going to be fighting Damian Maia on the Singapore card.
Right. I didn't know that. I didn't even think they'd be announcing any. I suppose for him, he'll be wanting to get straight back and erase that fight.
No chance of Damian Maia throwing a flying knee.
No. Well, you might after that.
And I think the other big story which happened in the world of MMA came after UFC 240. Now, I think it's safe to say that Dana White and Cris Cyborg hadn't seen eye to eye on many things.
They don't. I don't know the true reasons behind it, because star power's there really, but there's something lacking, isn't there? Yeah.
For anybody who maybe might be a bit unfamiliar, Cris Cyborg did have a 6-fight contract with the UFC. That ended after she beat Felicia Spencer at UFC 240. And the UFC basically said, hey, if another company offers you a deal, we're not going to match it. So essentially she's been cut from the promotion, which, in my personal opinion, doesn't make much sense.
But there's a few things that's happened over the last recent months, and probably years, but months I can think back to, of like Dana doing things, and you think, that does not make sense. But sometimes with Dana, in months' times, you can see that what he's done, you look back and you think, he's the president for a reason. He's made the UFC who they are. So he does, sometimes he can't make every call correct, but some of the things that people think he doesn't make correct, he generally comes back and you go, well, I did make the right decision. But at this moment in point, I don't see the reason in that.
Because I think as well, the thing that I think infuriates a lot of fans with the Cyborg deal is that you've got a champion in Amanda Nunes who, it's safe to say, isn't the most popular.
No.
I mean, if you look at her pay-per-view buys, if you look at social media, she's well behind all the other champions.
Yeah.
A rematch with Cyborg would do massive numbers.
Yeah.
And Cyborg's still a big draw.
Definitely, but obviously that's unentertaining, dude. For whatever, like I said, maybe it could be proper. It sounds like it's real personal reasons as well, doesn't it? There's something really personal there that Dana White will be thinking, you're not bigger than the UFC. I can do what I want. We don't think the show will go on without this type of thing. So I think he's just being stubborn and going for it. And
what do you think would be Cyborg's next destination? Do you think? Because she could either go to the PFL, make herself a quick million there,
or Bellator.
The Julia Budd fight would be a big one, I think.
Yeah, I think Bellator's got. I think it's the next. I'd be wrong to say next step down. I'm just saying that would be the next platform to take where you probably got similar type of thing. You know what I mean? And I think Bellator would want that.
And I think Bellator have a better women's featherweight division than UFC do.
So I think it might. Some of these things might work out better for her in the long run. So.
Well, let's certainly hope so. I think. Because when it comes to female fighters, Cris Cyborg's up there as one of the most entertaining.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the female division definitely needed her, and probably, I don't know if they need her as much now, but I don't think she should be thrown out in the cold.
Totally agree. We'll move on to UFC 241. Now, the main event of this card, which we'll get to later on in the show, big ramifications for potentially the end of the year. A lot of rumours that the winner of this fight could be fighting John Jones, champion versus champion.
I'd like that. I know we've talked about this in past, said is there too many of them, but if it makes sense, go for it. And if other people, if it's happened before, why can't it happen again? But we discussed already, does Jones want to take it up to heavyweight and take the... If I was Jones, I think I would want the fight, especially if it was against DC, because now he's beaten twice, but one was classed as a no contest, right? A win against DC would end that completely. You can't have a fourth fight after that, surely. If he was to get the win, he would then also become the heavyweight champion of the world as well as the light heavyweight. So I think it would make sense for him to do it because the belt's there. If DC didn't have the title, then that fight maybe wouldn't make as much sense for John Jones to come up. And I think John Jones, we've talked about this before, maybe he should go up to the heavyweight now division and rock that a bit. Because
there aren't that many, let's be honest, compelling matches for John up at
light heavyweight. No, that's what. I think it would make sense any of that. Like I said, there was talk of him and Brock, but I think that's completely off now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Brock signed with the WWE again.
So to be honest with you, I think a fight against DC for the title if I was Jones, would mean more to us than Brock. But I suppose maybe thought go for Brock, then go.
I mean, Brock's a big money fight.
Massive. Brock's a major name. Whether you love him or hate him, people tune in to watch Brock. He's one of them fighters, isn't he?
And the people that you will be tuning in to see on the ESPN prelims, we're going to be showing the card up on our screen now. Very bantamweight heavy, and in my opinion, that's a good thing because bantamweight has become a fantastic division over these past couple of months.
100%. Well, I say longer than the last couple of months. Bantamweight's a very exciting division. It not just in the UFC, it's like bantamweight's very massively popular now. I think talking 10 years ago it was lightweights and welterweights. It is bantamweight now. It's definitely the smaller weights.
I mean, I'm looking at the star power in that division right now. Obviously, you've got Henry Cejudo as champion. Corey Sandhagen, who's fighting on this card, a lot of hype around him.
Yeah.
And I think he's fighting a guy in Asun Sao who, really, if you want to be seen as a legitimate contender in that division, you go through him.
Yeah. Get the win there and then put yourself up there in the mixer. But yeah, there's that many of them about there. I think sometimes the rankings are quite hard to even... I wouldn't like to be the person doing the rankings because there's that many of them, especially in the top 10, top 15, where they've beat him, he's beat him. It's quite a rare... It's a very, very interesting weight category.
Like you've got Marlon Moraes there, Aljamain Sterling, Petty Yan. A lot of rumours that Sterling and Yan are going to be fighting each other to see who fights Cejudo next. I would really look forward to that fight. In terms of the rest of the card as well, a lot of people interested in Manny Bermudez.
Yes.
14-0, facing Casey Kenny, who also has a bit of hype and fanfare around him as well.
I think that's the standout one for me, not just because he's fought obviously our fellow friend Davey Grant, but Casey, good fighter himself. I think it'll probably make a very interesting match. That Bermudez is just, I think he had another, I can't think of who he fought now. I think it was another first round victory for him though, so he's on fire with himself really, isn't he? 14-0, so he's be a good fight. They're just trying to get themselves right up in the mix, aren't they, and into them major rankings, shall we say? But it's hard. They're in a hard division. They're in a very hard division.
And I think as well, I think welterweight's really suffering with this as well, is that if you have too many big names in one division, there's guys outside the top 15 looking in who just can't get those big opportunities
because they don't want to give them the opportunities, because them people at rank 12 want to go higher. They don't want to give someone ranked 17th a chance to leapfrog them.
I mean, I'm looking at someone like Vincent Luque, who just won on the Uruguay card. He's won something like 7-8 fights in a row, and yet he still can't get a top 15 opponent. I mean, Leon Edwards was struggling for a long time until he got the RDA fight, and now people have suddenly sat up and said, "Hey, this guy's legit."
He's legit. If you are that good, you'll keep winning. Whether you have to win 4 fights or win 10 fights, but it is hard when you see some fighters come into stardom after 3 fights, and then you get the like I said, Leon Diaz he had to have 7 wins in the UFC just until he got noticed really. Outside the UK, he was noticed in the UK before he signed with the UFC, but European and on the world level, he had to have seven fights before.
And then on the other hand, you have someone like Darren Till, who wins 2 wins and he gets a title shot.
Yeah, it's I don't actually know how that works. Well, I do. It's all because of who's in the public eye, but how they come in the public eye, obviously, just I think it's who they fight, where they get placed on the fight card. For people to see, and that first impression, isn't it? I think that first impression, someone gets a first round knockout straight away or does something spectacular, they stick in someone's mind, but some people don't, like I say.
In terms of other fighters to look out for on the prelims, Brandon Davis, he's moved down to bantamweight. I think he looked fantastic in his bantamweight debut. Most people will know him for fighting Zabit on short notice and becoming the victim of the Sulawev stretch. That's amazing that there was only one if I can get my words out, Sulawev stretch in the UFC up until that point, and then we got 2 on the same card.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy, but that's MMA for you, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'd also keep an eye as well, I have a soft spot as well for Hannah Cyphers, the strawweight fighter. She'll never be a champion, but she's got great striking, she's got a lot of heart, and honestly, if you listen to her in an interview, she's just so unprepared for the media side of MMA. It's always like very timid, yes ma'ams, thank you ma'am, all that sort of
I like to say that though.
Yes.
I'd love to say that because that was what he was years ago until everyone jumped on the trash talk bandwagon.
And she's so scrappy as well. I think her versus Jodie Esquivel could be a fun fight.
Very good.
We'll move on to the main card itself though. I'm going to fight number 1 and we're going up to the middleweight division where it is Derek Brunson, our number 8 seed, who is taking on the number 11 Heinisch. The bookmakers surprisingly, they have Heinisch as a favourite for this one, -185. You can get Derek Brunson at +150. And really, as much as we do sort of rate Derek Brunson to an extent, this is really about how good Ian Heinisch is. It's a test for him.
Yeah, it is. I don't really. I think it's unfair to call Brunson a stepping stone, but he maybe is for this fight. I think that would make sense. I think that's the fight that Ian wants more than anything, really. Yeah. And that'll put him up because he's from the Contenders, isn't he?
The Contender Series as well.
Yeah.
What's your opinion of the Contender Series compared to, say, the Ultimate Fighter? Because, yes, we're getting a lot more fighters coming into the UFC in one bunch, but with the Ultimate Fighter, as weak as it was by the later seasons, you still got people like Kamaru Usman, Tatiana Suarez coming through.
Contenders, I think, is absolutely great. Dana White, going back to Dana White, stubborn against former opponent of mine, Brendan Loughnane, didn't take him. I thought that was a bad call. It was a good call in the sense for, I know how much Brendan wants to be in the UFC, but I think it was a good call for him because now he all of a sudden overnight he become worldwide famous through it. But Contenders, I think it's brilliant because I think I like the whole idea of the Ultimate Fighter being in amongst that, and it's like a big brother living together and then fighting and getting the coaching, and that whole experience must be fantastic. But I think the Dana White one is it's good. It's like maybe having it's a normal fight or just one night, obviously just as basic as that, a fight, and basically that one fight can change your life. And I'd really rate the Contender series.
My big concern with the Contender series is we have about, say, 100 fighters per season fighting for these contracts.
Yeah.
And yet, through the 3 years we've done it so far, I can only count on one hand the amount which have been major successes.
I know you're coming like you're wanting more star power from them.
Yeah.
You can't help who's coming through the doors.
No.
And if you do look at who is fighting, they all got very, very respectable fight records.
Yes.
So you can't. Obviously, I think it's good because I think it shows how brilliant you have to be in the UFC, if that makes sense, or you should be, because you're not just saying yes to everybody. But I think if you don't get in, you fought in the Contender series. It's like a UFC Contenders, if you like, isn't it? And if you don't win, you go back, you go fight somewhere else, and maybe come back, and you're still getting noticed a bit. And like I say, even if these Contender series, if they got one star every series, one like every year, if you like, you know what I mean? Is it 9 or 10 or something?
I think there's
per series.
10 episodes.
10 episodes per series. Well, okay, if they got two star powers or two somebodies, you know what I mean? It's better than nothing. It's I think it's good because without that Contender series, some of the fighters wouldn't have got in the UFC.
And I think you can make a big argument as well that if you had to look at the most successful fighter from the Contender series, Ian Heinisch would be up there. 13-1 record.
Yeah.
He has won his past 2 UFC fights, including a very impressive one on short notice against Antonio Carlos.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Yeah. But they'll be bigger than him in the years to come. But yeah, he's leading the way a bit, isn't he? I mean, Forrest and Bonham made the Ultimate Fighter from the beginning, didn't they? I suppose the Contenders hasn't had that kick-off, has it, yet?
No.
Where someone's come or had that type of fight and then gone on to be... But it's early days for them. When did they start? 2017.
2017.
Yeah. So it's early days, isn't it? So I think it's a great thing for MMA. I think there's a lot of fighters out there trying to make the UFC, and they just cannot. And this is their chance. And if they don't make it, then they've had the chance at least. And there's nothing. And also, if they don't get on from the Contender series, there's nothing to stop them getting on. Like I said, in years to come.
And I think maybe going to another promotion. I think Brendan Loughlin got himself a contract with Bellator, I believe.
No. Next one. Well, what took over World Fight Series?
PFL.
Yeah, PFL. PFL, they've signed him for their featherweight tournament, I believe. So I don't know if that starts next year or something, but I know he's got one fight first, which isn't tournament based, and then after that I think he's in the tournament. So whether he has to win that fight, I don't know. But I know how much he wanted to be in the UFC, so I feel sorry because he obviously was in the Ultimate Fighter himself. He got beat in the Ultimate Fighter off Mike Wilkinson. Then since then avenged Mike Wilkinson on the ACB show. And like I say, I know how much he wanted to be in the UFC, but for him, at least he got the win. And obviously through the controversy of it all, actually I think really did make a name for himself through that fight. So I think he's made it. Whether he goes on to keep winning and then goes into the UFC, I think that's still his dream, because the UFC is the beginning. It's what it's all about, isn't it? Really, Bellator is brilliant. They're all brilliant, but I think just have the UFC banner under here is fantastic.
Going back to this main fight, though, we'll start off by talking about Ian Heinisch.
Yeah.
What would you say are Heinisch's biggest strengths as a fighter?
Well, we know he's got power in his hands, and obviously we know his wrestling background. But I think you'll know more of him than myself.
For me, it's his wrestling. I think he's a Division 1 wrestler, and even just by looking at the guy, his shoulders are massive, so he does like to take the fight to the ground. But for a wrestler, I do think that he's also quite active off his back.
Yeah.
I saw his fight against Cesar Ferreira, and I mean, this guy was trying to throw arm bars, and I mean, he caused Ferreira a lot of problems. And that again, I think that was another short notice fight. Yeah. So I think taking a lot of these short notice fights really gets him in the UFC's good graces, and I think that's starting to pay off as well. Definitely.
Because I can't remember who it was before. Did it years ago? They took a short notice fight, and then they got beaten, they got released. I can't think who it was, and I thought that was so unfair. Like it was ridiculous. But I think definitely if you're that promoter, obviously he's winning them, which makes it even better. But I think if you took a short notice fight and you got beat, you'd have to give them a grace, wouldn't you? And go, you've still got that other fight left in you.
We also know as well he's got finishing power. Good record of stoppages, including on the Contender Series. I think he finished his opponent in the first round. He dropped Cesar Ferreira as well at one point in their match. If there's one big issue I do have with Heinisch, and I think this maybe could be more evident if he was to beat Brunson and get further up the ladder, for a wrestler, he doesn't have good takedown defense.
Well, does he like it on the floor? But no, I mean whether you want to get took down, well, no one wants to get took down, but even when you're comfortable on the floor, you still put up a fight, don't you, to not get taken down. But is Brunson? I know, will you looking past Brunson there? But will Brunson be trying to do that?
I think so as well. I think because again, Derek Brunson also has a good wrestling background. I think the big issue I sometimes have when it comes to Derek Brunson is he doesn't use that as much as he really should do.
No.
I think he's seen a lot of success with his hands. He's got a lot of stoppage wins on his record. And he maybe just sort of falls in love with that side of MMA when he should be reliant on that.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about his fight with Adesanya, which he had in Madison Square Garden. And you'd think, hey, this guy's a legitimate kickboxing superstar. You're going to want to take that fight to the ground. And Brunson was trying to stand and trade with him.
Yeah. He's giving the fans what they want.
Yes.
He's giving the fans what they want. And I think also he's not maybe just giving the fans, I think you can get lost in the moment as well. It's happened myself before, I think you take a couple and that and you think, I'm alright here, and you see you're catching a couple and you think, I'm alright here, and you call him and shouting, take it to the ground, and you keep, like I said, you get wrapped up in the moment. He's a fighter, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a fighter. A sensible fighter does what to do to win.
I think the reason people have such an issue with Derek Brunson striking though is, even though he does have finishing power, and we've seen him stop guys like Lyoto Machida, who's probably his biggest win, even though he has that power, the technique's not really
there. Sloppy. Also from a fighter's point of view, that can also be so unpredictable that it catches you out, rather than the nice technique. I think sometimes the wilder punches is the ones you don't see coming.
Isn't that how Kevin Randleman beat Crow Cop? Just for his big overhand in his bottom.
I was going to say they're rare, but they're not. But, it happens, doesn't it? Well, once again, they might have had 10 fights, it might never happen again, but it still happened that night.
I think for Brunson as well, there's always this sort of feeling around Derek Brunson that he is a bit of a gatekeeper to middleweights. Because, if you look at the people who he's lost to, he's lost to Djokovic twice, Anderson Silva, Whittaker, Romero, Adesanya. So these are some of the big...
I was just going to say, they're not they weren't the type of people that if they got beat off Brunson, they were getting released. Yeah. But I know what you're saying. He might be getting that way now, probably depending on... I think a win on the show wouldn't put him up against them guys anymore, though.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I think this is his level now. Which I think will be good for him. Obviously, if he wins 5 or 6 fights off the trot, then he's probably going to beat Clem, one of them back, maybe one rematch or whatever. But I don't think that's for him really.
It's ironic you mentioned the idea of losing Brunson, you get released, because that's what happened to Elias.
Aye, yeah, but them lads,
Did you agree with that one?
No, would you?
Not in terms of his results, because he was getting wins, and he's only lost, I think, 3 fights in a row, and one of those was to Thiago Santos.
Yeah. There's no written rule really with the UFC, is there?
It's just his style wasn't nice to watch.
No, yeah, that's a bit of a rule with them, but there's no set. Years ago, I do believe, but I could be wrong. If you lost 3 fights, you were out. Well, am I right in saying that, or am I wrong? I might be wrong. It was maybe sort of an unwritten rule type of...
A bit of an unwritten rule.
Yeah. Whereas now, I don't think that matters. I think you could win 5 fights, lose 1 and you're out. Or you could lose... I think Ross Payson lost 4 or 5 off the trot at one point. He's the first person I can think of the top of my head. And he then come back and he won and then lost. So... I think sometimes it's personal reasons. I think it's personal reasons. And also if the roster's getting too big... and there's a lot of people knocking at the door wanting to be in the UFC, people from the contenders or people from wherever else, then they probably are going to get people. It's all about, obviously we know it's great sport, but it's like every sport and everything. It's all about people tuning in, paying and getting the numbers. And I think obviously the UFC just want entertainment, and that's what all of us want, really.
I think what makes this fight really compelling to me is we have two very similar fighters in styles. We've got guys with wrestling backgrounds who do have one-shot power.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a mirror match, which can either be great or either be awful.
It can be. Yeah, I totally. That's the biggest, definitely the best thing you've said. That's exactly right. Generally, they end up awful. Generally, mirrored fighters, but.
I think between the two, Ian Heinisch has more refined striking.
Yeah.
And I think he would be a bit more willing to take it to the ground than Brunson. But I think Brunson has more power.
I'm going for Brunson to win.
It's a tough one to call. I think I would lean towards Derek Brunson as well.
Yeah.
I think maybe this has just come a bit too fast for Ian Heinisch.
Yeah. And if he does take the win, then good on him and see where he goes after that. But I think Brunson at this time, at this moment, will get the win.
I do want to support Ian Heinisch though, because he does have a fantastic story. If you do read into the guy on social media or on any of the sports news channels, read up on this guy. He's got a fantastic, compelling story. And if that was to get out to the mainstream media, the guy could be a big star if he was to win this fight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's nothing personal when we obviously call the fights. I just think, I think it's Brunson, but I'm saying everyone's got their own opinion. And I'm not saying Brunson is in what we've said. I'm definitely going for that. I wouldn't put a lot of money on it, but that's who my money would be on. Yeah.
Same for me. I'm going to say Derek Brunson, and I'm going to say, well, Derek Brunson has finished all of his fights in the first round by knockout.
We'll go first round knockout then.
Yes. Play the percentages.
Yes, definitely.
So we move on to fight number 2, which most of us here sort of deride as sort of like the toilet break fight.
You do.
I do.
And you're generally right. We have had a couple of ones that have surprised us.
I mean, I'm just looking through over the past couple of fight cards that we've had of the SEC fight. So we've had like Nadia Kassim versus Montana De La Rosa, Dwight Grant versus Alan Jouban, there was a Stavropoli versus Thiago Alves, which, looked like good fights on paper, but just failed to deliver.
Yeah.
Dare I say we've got another situation here. We've got Sadiq Yusuf versus Gabriel Benitez. Yusuf is entering the fight as a -375 favourite. You can get Benitez at +285. We'll start first and foremost by talking about Yusuf, another Contender Series alumni.
Well, I think you just go back to the Contender Series. You were on about them done enough star power. You've got produced enough. I mean, they've got 2 on there on the main card, so they are doing something correct. Someone I haven't seen a great deal of. I know he's decent with his striking, good stand up, tough, but in a 9-1 record, which is and obviously he's done enough to impress Dana to get through the contenders, because many try and many fail. He's
got a very fan-friendly style, in my opinion. A lot of power, big overhands, one-punch knockout power as well. It's clean striking and with a good stand-up defence, so you can see that boxing background which he had, very evident.
But it's weird because a lot of times we all like to watch the boxers. We all like to see the stand-up. But a lot of times, a majority of people say that the boxing is the weakest sport to come in from.
Yes, because there's so much else you've got to think about that you can't just focus on getting the perfect.
But everyone wants you to. Everyone says you should be rested. Everyone doing the jiu-jitsu, but everyone wants to stay. Everyone stand up. So it's a lose-lose situation for everyone, isn't it?
And I think as well, I did one of the first videos I did for the channel. I looked at like famous boxers who tried MMA. And aside from Holly Holm, you would say most of them were...
I will say one thing though about that. A lot of them boxers who I can probably think off the top of my head...
Well past it.
Were past it. You had Ray Mercer, then you had... Who was him who fought Randy Couture?
James Toney.
You had... They were all great athletes in the day, but really, if you'd put them even back in their own roots as a boxer, they were finished as boxers. They were just trying to get a quick paid. And I mean, they still have had the hands... But you're fighting a professional boxer who's, I think, being a world champion. Tony was.
Yes. So was Mercer.
Surely you're going to take him to the floor. You know what I mean? No, even if you're a good striker yourself, you're thinking, my win is on the floor.
And it may very well be a concern if Yusuf does go to the floor, because I was reading through his stats, the guy has never attempted a takedown in his MMA career.
Total different though, to attempting a takedown and not, that's obviously because every fight starts stood up. He probably has maybe never felt he's needed to take the fight to the floor, but that doesn't necessarily mean if taken down, he's not clued up as such. But if you're winning the fight stood up and you're comfortable and you feel in no danger, will you take someone down?
Exactly.
No, and I mean the lad's still only had 10 fights. If he'd had 30 fights and he said he's never attempted to take down, you go wow. But 10 fights. I mean, probably the first 5 or 6 fights he ever had before UFC was probably maybe in quick fashion, but before getting to the contenders.
The other big thing as well that stands out for me when it comes to Yusuf, good leg kicks as well, I'll have to note that. He's also incredibly tough, and his cardio, especially when we saw it against Mike Davis in the Contender Series, can't be matched.
No.
I mean, the guy took like a massive knee from Davis in that fight and just didn't seem to flinch.
Very good. That I don't know whether it's sometimes a good thing or a bad thing, because it's surely going to catch up with you in later life being so tough. But no, it's great. I think there's a lot of great fighters out there in the world who would be a lot better if they were tougher, because they can sometimes give and not necessarily take. If you can take it, I also think it can dishearten the opponent, wear them out, and think, what do I have to do to finish this guy, while you come back just as strong.
And Yusuf's coming to the fore as well at a really strong time for African MMA.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at a lot of the African fighters coming through, you've got Kamaru Usman, Israel Adesanya, Francis Ngannou. This is a really good time for
Definitely. And really, I think he's done well also. He's on the main card. He's fighting a lot more experienced person in Benitez, so I think good. Definitely, I think he's hit on right. Could he be a potential star?
Well, I certainly hope so.
Yeah, and then that's your Dana White theory out the window, isn't it? Of the contenders.
He is facing though a real live dog in Benitez. So 21-6 record. He's won his past 2 fights, including the win over Humberto Bandener. That was on the Chile card last year. Yeah. Which is a fantastic fight to watch if you get the chance, because he drops Bandener in the first 10 seconds, follows him to the ground. Bandener tries to wrap up an armbar, and he does the full-on rampage slam, just knocks him out.
Quality, and he's never fought since.
He hasn't fought since then. Right,
but the stats are quite both good records. But like I said, 27 fights to 10 fights. But I don't necessarily think this is a toilet break fight.
Well, I certainly hope not.
No,
because I think we've got real potential here for a proper slugfest. Yeah. With the way these two guys fight.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Benitez, it's a shame that he is so inactive, because there was a time around 2018 where, I mean, the guy just beat Jason Knight, and you could say, hey, Jason Knight, it's an all-out thing. Knight had a lot of hype before that fight, and Benitez just made him look silly in there, and you can see that Knight was getting frustrated.
I didn't realise about, obviously, Benitez not fighting for so long. That could play a factor in this fight. Could definitely play a factor. I've been in that situation myself and spoke about before. Some people it doesn't seem to affect, and I think some people do. I don't think they get out of second gear.
Well, I'd argue that happened with Holly Holm when she fought Nunes. I thought Holly looked awful in that fight.
So it'll depend on his preparation for this fight, because I think it's. I didn't think it was as well even as thing, but I do actually think it could be a well even fight, this, and potentially a very good fight. I'll not say fight of the night, because we've got 3 big fights coming up.
We've got 3 massive fights coming up.
But I don't think it's a toilet break.
In terms of Benitez, I think there's 2 big weapons that he has. First and foremost, his kicks.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy can hammer your calves. So if he connects with Yusuf, he's going to cause him a lot of problems. He's also got a good left hook. And if you look at the amount of people he's dropped in these UFC fights, they all come from that left hook, including Bandener in his last fight.
Yeah. I think it'll be I do honestly, I keep going on. I think it'll be a very interesting fight, this. I think it'll be a good fight, good stand-up. I think it'll be a good one for us, for maybe even people who aren't as knowledgeable in the mixed martial arts to watch. I think it could end up just being a non-takedown stand-up.
It's going to be a stand-up fight.
Yeah, fight.
Is it going to end by knockout?
Tough one, because they're both tough. But if it doesn't go to the floor and they do stand, that's 15 minutes of striking, obviously stood up, which is quite substantial. So I think there probably will be eventually, maybe second round, a TKO, against the cage, drop, bit of ground and pound, and a referee stoppage.
I think it's going to start off quite even. I could arguably say that Benitez maybe has the upper hand.
Yep.
But if it goes to the later rounds, I think the conditioning of Yusuf is going to take over.
I do. I think Yusuf's, like you say, tough. Benitez has been out for, 18 months?
18
or
months,
just
yeah.
or something like that, between 12 and 18 months. I think that'll play a part as the fight goes on, especially if it's a fast-paced starting fight. I do believe, like you say, Benitez probably will get the first round on the upper hand, and the later it goes on, he'll probably go to Yusuf. So a second or third round TKO.
I'm going to say Yusuf by decision, 29-28.
You will not be far wrong between us.
Well, let's certainly hope not. And let's hope it is a classic as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, everybody said that Dwight Grant versus Alan Jouban was going to be epic, and that failed to deliver that fight.
Yeah, I know. We sometimes, I think you give them that much what's the word I'm looking for? You give them that much hype. I think you can. They couldn't live up to the hype if they tried, because there's that much of it.
And speaking of hyped fights, Yoel Romero versus Paulo Costa.
I don't like the way this is done. just to put it out there, I don't like the way this is done at all today. I'm not happy.
Mental note: don't double print.
Do not double print. It just knocks the whole system up.
Yeah. This could potentially be a great fight.
Yes, definitely. Let's start off about where's Romero's money going? What's he been spending it on?
What was it? $27 million?
Something like that. I've been fighting since I was 10-year-old, and if I won £27 million, I think me drive would go. Especially for the first year or two, until you got bored of spending money on yachts and everything else. I think he's done fantastic. And at how old? 42?
42 years old. He's in incredible shape.
Yeah, fantastic. I think he'll bow out after this fight. I know we'll talk about the fight first, but I do believe. Well, this is me talking personally. If I was in his shoes, 42-year-old, nothing to prove. That much money in the bank. Money's not everything, but if you've got that money, you're going to live, aren't you? Like a king.
And a champion as well, being a guy who you've lost to twice.
Yeah. Unless that's what he's going for, but would you go for that? Will they give him that? Will they give him that fight?
I don't think they'll do. If Adesanya beats Whittaker, then they'll do Romero versus Adesanya.
Yeah, that's maybe what he's looking for. I mean, that's, to be fair, he's that much of a talent now. He's that much of a. He's done everything. I think that's probably what he maybe is going for: gold and then retirement. But I don't know whether he's looking for that third fight or not with Whittaker. But I don't know. Like I said, the UFC aren't probably going to give him it. And if they were to, you're talking in a couple of years' time of, if he's still champion, if he gets another 3-4 wins, and then he's going to be 44, 45. You know what I mean? And I think he's got nothing to prove anymore. And I think retire while you still can, really, while it's your choice and your decision.
It would be a shame though if we were to lose Romero, because this guy is
fantastic.
It's so entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it would be. I'm not telling. I'm talking about if I was him.
Yeah.
If I was him, he's in perfect nick. He's 42. He's great. I'm both saying that. If you can still mix up with the best of them and still beat the best of them and still have your eye on the prize, then why do you retire? But that hunger being there is very good.
I'm always a bit curious about Yoel Romero's fighting style, because if you ever watch him during one of his fights, he always holds his left hand really high and his right hand's quite low. And there's good portions of the fight where he'll just seem to just take time off. I mean, Whittaker was just basically doing his own thing for the first 2 rounds, and then come the third, big overhand, and he's dropping him.
Yeah. He's great to watch, really. What goes through his mind sometimes, I don't really know.
So explosive.
Yeah. It's as if he's just waiting to get out of gear as well. But he knows what he's doing, doesn't he? We can't tell him what to do. He's. Do
you think part of that's maybe concerns over cardio?
Possibly. And then getting the later rounds thinking, look, I'm getting beat here, I have to take it up a notch. Yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible, especially when you do them 5 rounders. If you go for it the first 2 rounds, and then obviously you haven't got the win under your belt, and you go off at the third and you're half. He's a big lad and he's gassing. Then definitely take it. As long as he's not getting smashed in the first couple of rounds, and where it's going to affect him the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, or just the 3rd round, depending on who he's fighting. Then it's not a bad idea, is it, to fail someone out just for the first round or so, keep out the way, but I don't know.
Obviously, we've got Romero's age, which has been called into question as well, and his motivation, but also as well the amount of damage he's been taking. He's fought Robert Whittaker in 2 5-round fights, and those 2 fights were wars as well.
He must obviously feel that it's okay. Like I say, I would probably walk. I'm not going on at his age, because if he can still do this at 47, 48 in 6 years' time, then fair enough to the lad. I was just talking in person. 40. If I was to think
how old was Randy Couture when he retired? 47.
47, yeah.
And he was still fighting at an elite level.
Yeah, 100%, 100,000,000%. So it is what it is, isn't it? It is what it is. My question, obviously, winning their millions as well, bring them back into it. You can't forget about it. I know it's got nothing. Well, it has got something to do with the fighting, but I know it's got nothing. It shouldn't have a lot to do with the fighting, but I would question, with all that money in the bank, just trading. I know how hard it is training myself twice a day and every day and everything else. And you think, and if you've got 27 million just sat in the bank, you think, why am I putting myself through this?
And he is facing a very dangerous prospect as well.
Definitely.
Paulo Costa.
Yeah.
12-0. He has finished all but one of his fights by knockout. He's only gone into the 2nd round 3 times in his career. His longest fight was 8 minutes, and that was his last one against Uriah Hall.
Yeah.
A lot of people excited about this guy.
And rightly so. Rightly so. Would you? Is this the right time to fight Romero for him? Possibly.
I think it is.
Yeah. Possibly, and I'm not criticising Romero. I think he's always going to be a dangerous man. But probably Costa. Romero is also a big name.
Yeah.
And really, Costa, what's he ranked?
Number 7.
Number 7. Oh, I thought it was a bit further down that. It'll still catapult him, because Romero's what, first, second in the rankings.
He's the I believe he's number 2.
Number 2.
Adesanya's number 1, but being the interim champion.
Yeah. So he's it's a big fight and potential massive win for him.
And I think as well with the middleweight division is in flux right now. We're seeing a lot of the old guards, so like the Jacares of the world, maybe starting to fall down the card a little bit.
Yeah.
And in their place, we're getting people like Paulo Costa, Jack Manson, Jared Cannonier.
Yeah.
And also as well, you've got like Rockhold and Weidman moving up to light heavyweight as well. So that division's in flux. You could make an argument for Paulo Costa to fight the winner of Adesanya Whittaker.
He gets his win. In fact, never mind an argument, I can't say why he wouldn't be the next. Especially if Romero wins, he's going to surely be in line. So I never ever get that, why I want him win, because it has happened before, where if you get that win, I can't think off the top of my head, but there was someone recently, if they got the win, they were fighting for the title, but if they didn't, I don't know where it left them, type of thing, and that should never be the case.
No, it shouldn't.
It should be a title eliminator title fight, so both of them, whoever wins gets the fight. But I mean, that'll be a massive jump up from 7th to number 1 in line. And
he's got a lot of traits as well, which I think are going to cause Romero a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Because this guy never moves backward. Is always forward pressure, looks to back his opponent against the fence and then tee off on them. And considering how slow Romero can be and how unwilling he is to empty his gas tank, if Costa manages to back him up early on,
it could finish it earlier.
He could finish it early.
And Romero won't get his chance in that 3rd round. You know what I mean? I know. Or Romero will have to start and think, I need to give it my all, and then suffer the consequences later if I don't get the win. If he's pushed in the corner, then he'll have no choice but to battle or go down.
The one concern I do have with Paulo Costa, I think that I have 2 concerns actually. Number 1, while he is aggressive with his forward pressure, we've seen him maybe get caught a couple of times. I mean, Uriah Hall dropped him. I mean, it's just like a proper stumble onto the knee, but he recovered from it. But it does show that he can be caught. And also as well, I don't think Costa has ever faced somebody who is so notorious for his knockout power in the way that Romero is.
Yeah.
I mean, Uriah Hall does have knockouts on his record, but that's more sort of hitting the precise, perfect punch. Romero can flatline you at any moment.
Yeah.
And I'm just a bit worried that he's not going to
go forward because of that. Yeah. But I will say, with him being obviously undefeated, and the confidence he will
fearless.
have. Fearless. That's the exact word I wasn't looking for, but that's the correct word. Fearless. He is, and that is the truth. But that could go against you. I'm not saying that the fearless is probably bad because it could go forward and get knocked out. But what I'm saying is, I don't think that will stop him from walking out in this fight. I think he'll be gunning for himself to win. I do. And rightly so at this moment in time.
I think this is the perfect time to fight Yoel Romero.
100%.
Considering his age and his motivation.
Yeah, 100,000,000%. I do, and I think Costa will have jumped at this chance to fight this lad, because it's still a massive win. There's no one out there in the division who he could fight. Probably he'll get as higher up, obviously, in the ladder. And I think with his, we'll find out on the night of his motivation and everything else and how serious he still is. But I think this is definitely the time to fight him.
This, in my opinion, is going to end one of two ways. Either Costa is going to press Romero against the cage and he's going to tee off on him, or Costa, while trying to press, is going to get caught coming in. Similar to what happened to Till against Woodley.
Yeah. Which way is it going to go though?
I know that Romero is a -165 favourite. I'm going with the underdog after Costa.
I'd go with you. I think I'd go with you because I think it's the perfect time. 12 months ago, different story. But I think we're at the perfect time now, and I think it's Costa's time. And I don't think it'll do the middleweight division any harm.
No, I'm really excited about this new guard of middleweights.
Yeah.
Because I think we've got a lot of talent up there.
Yeah, and John will put it out there, man. I'm not, when I was going on about Romero, I don't want him to retire as such for us to watch. But I think if I was him, type of thing, I think it's just, he doesn't need it. But like I said, there's more to life than money and everything else, and I think his eyes is on the middleweight title.
And I think as well, if he was to retire, it would be better to do so
on a win and healthy.
Yes.
A healthy winning. I would hate to think he got he went on like a skid of losses and got made to retire or told to retire or had nowhere else to go.
Because I mean, if you look at someone like, say, Chuck, who went on too long,
it
was sad to watch.
It was horrible. It was awful to watch. You know, I mean, we spoke about BJ. There's more out there who but they think and they can still do it, and then when they've got them couple of losses, they want to say, oh, well, I don't want to end on 3 losses, so I'm going to get a win. Then they have 4 losses, and they have 5 losses, and it's just awful to see.
I think BJ has said his last fight's going to be his last one properly.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's going to be fighting Nick Lentz. I don't know which card it's going to be on, but he definitely said it's going to be his last one.
I hope he gets a win.
I hope so as well.
Just because it's the modern people now coming to watch. They'll think that BJ Penny's now not realising
the guy was awesome.
He was the man. But people say they destroy the legacy, but in my eyes he doesn't, because I'll always remember him who he was. But they do a little bit, you know what I mean? They do a little bit. I think it's nice to see them sometimes go out on top.
Yeah.
Go out and say, I won the championship, I did that, and I knew what time to retire, and I retired on my own. I retired when everyone else was going, no, still fighting. Yes. Not, that's the best please, he's retired. So, yeah, definitely.
And from us discussing about retirements, we've got a guy who is coming back. It's our co-main event. A lot of casual eyes going to be drawn to this one. Nate Diaz is back, and he's going up against Anthony Pettis.
Very good. Class. Really good. Nice to see Nate back. What's he after?
Money.
Red panty night. Aye, Nate, yeah. It'd be interesting to see how, once again, it's a guessing game, how he comes back into shape. I think he'll come back.
I mean,
I can't say how he left off, because that's 3 years ago.
3 years ago. UFC 202.
Yeah, 3 years ago. So it'll be, but he will have prepared everything he can, I think, for the fight.
I don't think you can ever fault Diaz in terms of his conditioning. He is always in fantastic shape.
Yeah. go stronger as the fight goes on.
Yeah.
How old roughly will he be now?
I think Nate, I think he's around 32, 33, I think.
You think he's older, don't you?
Yeah.
Because
He's
they've been around
for so long.
Yeah, they've been around that long, but he's still really. There's no wrong with him, really, is there? Especially his age or anything like that. I think he might just come back and start surprising people in his next few fights, because I don't think it's just going to be the one fight back, is it?
What would you say are Nate's biggest strengths as a fighter?
Well, I think, to be honest, he's a perfect all-rounder. He's got good stand-up, he's got good everything, and also what we've just touched on, I think he gets stronger and stronger as the fights go on, which is quite... I would say majority of fighters, like anyone else in the world, really, you start off strong. You start off strong and you start deteriorating, like anything, like a runner, like anything, really. Like you start a football match, you get tired, you get big. If you're the fighters and you're both here and you start going down and he starts going up, I think no matter what you're doing, whether you're stood up on the floor, that's just hard to cope with.
And I think we saw that especially with the first McGregor fight.
Yeah.
I mean, McGregor was controlling that first round. And I know Conor's had issues with his cardio, and those became very evident in the second round. But a lot of that was Nate slowly just getting into the fight and then just started teeing off on him. Yeah. And then Conor panicked, went to the ground, and the rest was history.
Yeah. Nate's a massive athlete. I mean, have we got his record? 30 fights, you know what I mean? And at 32 or whatever, 3, so you never fought for 3 years, so 29. I mean, he'll have had them fights in like the space of 10 years or whatever of a young man. He's a all-round athlete, really, I would say.
The biggest strength, I think, when it comes to Nate, though, his toughness.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen this guy take some massive shots and just keep walking through them.
Yeah.
That being said, though, he has been stopped before. I mean, McGregor dropped him twice in the second fight. Was it Josh Thompson who finished
But I think he was one of them fighters, you can't sort of... It's hard because he's never fought for 3 years, so I'm trying to say 5 years ago, really probably 7 years ago, he's a total different fighter. Yeah. He's like sort of... You can't forget about them losses, but I don't think that's him anymore. I think he's a different... I think even the McGregor fights just made him... just put him up that platform where he's like, I'm here now. He wasn't just a platform fight. He knocked himself up there in the public eye, which I think then made him a bit of a superstar and probably give him that extra motivation.
I'm intrigued to see the drawing power of Nate still. Because, I mean, as big as the McGregor fights were, it was 3 years ago. Does he still have that same relevance to attract the casuals in?
Against the Pettis fight, I think so, actually, yeah, because his first one back after 3 years, yeah, I definitely do. I think people want to see what he's all about. I think he could soon lose that with a loss. I know that sounds harsh. If he was to win again, I could imagine what people will start shouting for. If he was to get the win.
Another red panty night?
Yes. I mean, listen, we're not daft, me, you, and everyone else. I think the UFC have asked for Nate to come back. Yeah. And I think that's the fight McGregor wants as well. Yeah, I think that's the fight to get Conor McGregor back. I also believe that will be a massive money fight. But I also know that if they were to match Conor coming off the Khabib loss, Nate not fought since the loss, that fight wasn't that good of a fight. If they can lure Conor back, it would be having Nate come off 2 big wins. Yes. Pettis, someone else, or even maybe just Pettis, I don't know. But get a couple of wins under his belt. I've come back, I've had 3 years off, I've come back, I've won 2 fights. Where's Conor McGregor? I know it's going to happen. Of the options to fight McGregor, is that the one you want the most? Because I mean, if Nate comes back, fantastic. Smashes Petterson's. Who would you put him with after that as a bit of a next knock-up fight? Because I don't think they'll ask for Conor straight after that. I think there'll be another fight in there for Nate. And I think then I would say that. If Conor still hasn't fought since then, and Nate, like I say, has a bit of a win streak, goes on, comes back, looks impressive, better than ever, 2 wins, then I would want that fight. If he comes back, loses, or doesn't look as good, I don't even think they'll mention that fight. I don't think that fight will even get put on the cards, actually, unless Nate comes back in style. Because in my opinion, I mean, a lot of people are saying that they do want Diaz McGregor 3. My personal opinion, I would rather have Conor fight either the Gagey Cowboy winner, because that's happening in September, or, a lot of rumours about this one,
Jose Aldo.
Jose Aldo again? Well,
Aldo at
they never
lightweight.
fought, did they really?
No.
They went 13 seconds. It wasn't a fight, but he did win. But obviously he was a fight, he won, but you know what I mean, don't you? No one actually saw how it played out.
And I think the Aldo fight would interest McGregor as well.
Do you? I don't think it would. Because after that, Aldo lost. Was it Frank Edgar a couple of times?
Max Holloway.
Max Holloway, sorry. And then who else did he lose?
Volkanovski.
Yeah. I don't think that fight would interest Conor McGregor. I don't. I think it wouldn't interest me if I was Conor. I know it sounds sick, and Aldo's better than that, but he knocked him out in 13 seconds. If Aldo had gone on to then win everybody else since, then yeah, I want it, because then the fans would have been going, it was a lucky punch, it was this, it was that. Then that's different. I think the Diaz one would make more sense for Conor because it's classed as a 1-1.
Yeah.
Whereas he would get the upper hand as a 2-1. Or fight someone different. I can't. Him and Khabib, whether that. I mean, really, I think Conor would probably have to come back and get a win against whoever. I think to even challenge Khabib again. And would he just get beat again?
If Khabib and McGregor fight again, Khabib wins that.
Yeah.
He wins. I think he wins.
And
what,
does Conor,
90 times out of
Conor
100.
now isn't. He is a fighter, but he's a businessman. He's a clever man. The Khabib fight probably for him doesn't make sense because I think with Conor, with his supporters, who follow him more than anything. Because I would say more people who don't follow MMA follow him than probably actual MMA supporters. And I don't think they care who he fights as much, as long as he gets the wins. They want to see him come in. A lot of people tune in more to watch him talk rather than fight. And they just want to see him going and knock someone out, really.
Yeah.
And I think getting took to the ground off Khabib and getting Khabib'd will probably not be the fight Conor wants.
I think the term is smashed.
Yes, it was harsh, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And would they have enough security guards in the world to cover that fight?
That's the other big concern as well. I mean,
that would have to be policed massively. And where would you have it? Because you wouldn't have it in Russia.
No.
You couldn't have it in Ireland. You would have to have it somewhere proper neutral. I wouldn't even have it in America. I would have it in Dubai.
Abu Dhabi.
Aye, somewhere like that, really out the way. I would.
I've realised all this talk about the McGregor matches means we're distracting ourselves from Anthony Pettis. Nothing wrong with that. There's so much compelling
I know,
stuff
we get there lost.
We did a full-on Joe Rogan, just went off on a tangent.
Yeah.
Anthony Pettis, 22-8 record. Now Pettis' record is a little bit, how's the term to put this there? Deceiving, because you look at his record, you're just thinking, well, the guy's lost 6 of his past 9 fights. If you look at those past 9 fights, they've nearly all been belters.
Yeah.
The guy is very entertaining to watch.
It's just a perfect matchup. It's a great matchup, I think. I don't think the UFC that bothered who wins this fight. I would probably lean towards it, the one Diaz to win.
Yeah.
But I think they have to give him somebody, and I think Pettis is the man. And
there are positives to come out of a Pettis win as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Because again, he's a new name to the welterweight division. He fought his welterweight debut against Wonderboy. How did you think he did against Wonderboy? Because
he was getting beat, wasn't he?
He was getting beat, but Superman punch knocked him out. I think he's the only person ever to knock out Wonderboy.
That alone is a knockout's great, but to be the only person to knock out. I think it'd be saying bring Nate Diaz on. I think it'll be a tough fight for Diaz. I think this will be a tough fight. I've said this. I think we said about the second fight. I think this will be a very hard fight to call. In fact, the last one, Romero, they're quite hard fights to call these, which is great because it means they're pretty evenly matched. Well, for a few reasons. We don't know how Diaz is going to come back.
Yeah.
And Pettis, I think, is on a bit of a newfound form of himself.
Because even though he was struggling at times in that Wonderboy fight, I think physically he looked great at welterweight.
Yeah.
I was a little worried that he was going to be put on a bit too much muscle for his own good. He seemed to handle it fine.
Yeah, I think, years ago, people used to drop the weight and they used to think, oh, he's dropped the weight, he's going to be beast. Now they seem to be going up the weight and looking great again. I
think they're finding that if you carry a little bit more weight, instead of draining yourself out, you're going to be able to take those big shots. You have a little bit more power.
You've got energy. And it's not just about the fight. It's the 8-10 weeks leading up to the fight. You feel great about yourself. I'm in the same boat myself. I used to have to think about thinking, I've got to get to 70 kilos. I walk around now, 79, 80, I fight at 77. It's absolutely, I mean, I know a lot of people should drop a bit more than that. I know I really am walking about it me. But you just feel great in life because all I have to think about is fighting and training, which is what you should as a fighter be thinking about.
Yes.
Not thinking, I've got 10 kilos to lose or I've got 12 kilos. Because the losing and shit, this hasn't been around long enough, right, to know what the consequences are. I mean, okay, once or twice, but when you're making a lifetime career out of cutting that much weight, can it be good for your body? It's got to catch up on you somehow, somewhere.
Well, the go-to for me was always be TJ Dillashaw when he cut down the flyweight.
Yeah.
He drained his body so much. He had one slight punch off Cejudo and he was rocked.
Yeah. Your brain's the first thing to lose the water, the dehydration. Your brain's rattling around. Your brain's full of water. If it's nothing there, it's just rattling about in an empty head. But
the other big thing about Pettis as well, which I've really started to take an interest in as well, Pettis was always more of a technical striker. Obviously, he had the flashy moves, and everybody remembers the short-time kick against Benson. I think in the past couple of fights, he's become more of a brawler.
Yeah.
I think he's realising that he needs to make it a bit dirty, make it a bit more of a stand-and-trade fight. And he's finding more success out of that.
Yeah, and I think it's all potential to make him and Nate I don't want to call it a slugfest. And I don't sometimes want to call it a brawl because people get them.
It's intriguing.
Yeah, I don't think we're not going to stand there and say a technical stand-up though. But there will be a lot of technique there. But I think there will be a lot of hard punch, wild swings, and different kinds of ups and downs. Really.
Part of me wants to see it go to the ground.
Do they?
Because I think Pettis has a really underrated ground game.
Yeah.
Nate's a jiu-jitsu black belt.
But who would take who down? Who would go for the takedown? The only one I think would go for the takedown is either one of them getting rocked.
Yes.
I think they'd both be happy to stand up, providing they get their own way. Whoever rocks who, the one obviously being in a bit of a cuckoo, will probably be the one to panic take, or well, not so much panic take down, but think, right, I need to get this fight to the floor. Because I think both them fighters will both go to stand until that time happens. Or if it's a very close fight and they get the takedown for points.
Yeah. I think as well, sometimes when you have two guys with great grappling backgrounds, they're sometimes a bit scared, as if to say, I don't want to go to the ground because he might have the advantage. So they both keep it standing.
Yeah. And I mean, after Pettis' knockout, surely he's going to want to stand up. He's got to. I would be very shocked. And I think Nate's, I want to say, pretty game for anything.
What makes this fight really compelling to me is that on paper, Nate should be a stylistic nightmare for Pettis because Nate's big thing is targeting the body.
Yeah.
And Pettis has always struggled with that. We saw that with Max Holloway.
Well, Nate will be made aware of that, won't he?
Yeah. But Nate is so inactive, is he going to be able to utilise that?
This is a guessing game once again. We don't know what you or the rest of the world aren't going to know what Nate's like until he gets into that cage. It's not as if he fought 3-4 months ago and we go, well, look, he did this, he was that. He is a professional. I think he will come back on. I think he will come back in very good nick and there's no doubt about it. He'll have trained his socks off and he'll be in perfect shape. But that's still not. He's still being inactive. No matter how hard you've been trained, it's still not a fight. And he's got a very hard fight as a comeback fight. But that's him all over, isn't it?
Time to stick your neck out. Who's going to win this one?
Really, I'm not being funny, I want to say Nate because I think I'm looking towards the future. But Pettis, like you say, we've found something different, a new formula in his striking. You can't underestimate him. I think they could have 10 fights and one could win 5 and the other one could win 5. Just to chuck him back in the mix, I'm going to go Nate because I think if a Nate loss, it'll hit a lull. He might not fight much more. God knows who will fight after that. A win will be a big, massive train.
So the UFC will definitely want Nate to win.
Definitely. And that's, to be honest with you, that's how I like both guys, but that's how I'm picking this fight because I think a win for Nate will do a lot more for the UFC than a win for Pettis.
Yes. I did lean towards Pettis before we started this segment, but now though I'm leaning towards Nate. Simply because I share your theory. I think the UFC have chosen this fight specifically because they want Nate to get a big high-profile win to justify the McGregor fight.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Nate.
Yeah, and I mean, I've said they'll get 2 fights. They may not jeopardise another fight with Nate. If he gets his win, they might not jeopardise because obviously whoever he fights, if he gets a loss, it won't make that attraction. So they might just literally get him a win and go, come on, Conor. He's waiting. I do believe that Nate is bait to get Conor back to the UFC.
I think so as well.
It's just coming at too ironic of a time for me. I think he's just bait. And but Nate will know that, and I think Nate will be happy with that, because at the end of the day, Nate's not going to stand there and want to get the loss of Conor. He's going out to get the win, and he's going out to get the massive mega money. But I think the UFC need Nate to get him back. Then if Conor was to win Nate, then they've probably got him and keep him for whoever.
And then they've got the one fight to maybe justify something else for the title.
Exactly. But I think Nate is bait. And they will be upset if Pettis wins, unfortunately. But I think that's the case.
And we have seen Dana before. You could tell when a best laid plan manages to
go dwindle. Yeah.
Now we move on to our main event though, and the heavyweight title is on the line, and Daniel Cormier is taking on the former champion Stipe Miocic. Bookies have this one very close. Daniel Cormier is the -150 favourite. Stipe Miocic is a +120. It's a rematch from the fight they had UFC 226, where Cormier got the first round knockout.
Yeah.
A lot of big stories about both fights coming into this. Obviously, Stipe Miocic is wanting to try and get back his aura, and potentially this could be Daniel Cormier's last fight as well.
Yeah. Well, I was going to contradict myself. I was going to say I don't know why it would be DC's last fight, but then I've just said then you go out on top, don't you, as the top dog?
Well, there was always this story that DC wanted to retire after his 40th birthday.
Once again, if he weren't retired, you'd go, why this? But as a personal level, as a family man and everything else, he's done the right thing. Yeah. He's gone out there, he's still in good health, he's gone out as a champion, he's got nothing really to prove. I wonder if he would still want that third fight though with Jones, but whether or not he's just forgot about that.
I think John wants the third fight more than DC does. I think DC, it did bother him for a while, but then beating Stipe and almost one-upping John makes him think, I've got the upper hand now.
Well, I can't understand why. The only way I could understand Jones wanting that fight is for the heavyweight title, what we spoke about. Wanting a third fight for him for fighting sakes doesn't make much sense without obviously becoming the 2-time champion heavyweight and light heavy. Whereas it makes more sense for DC to want the fight to avenge the losses, or the losses we should say.
I think as well, I don't think DC is going to get back down to 205.
No, I think. Well, if I say I can't understand it. I know John Jones wants the light heavyweight. I can't understand that because then he's got nothing to gain. He's beat him, and he's fighting him again to beat him. Whereas if he fights him at heavyweight, there's gold on the line. I can't understand that, whether we're getting the truth out of things or not. I don't know.
I've always been intrigued by the story of Daniel Cormier, because there was a long time where Daniel Cormier was hated as a champion. Yeah. People just saw him as the guy who was keeping John Jones's belt warm.
Yeah, but he's good. He's
a fan favourite now.
Yeah.
People love DC.
Good. But I'm not being funny with fans, and not every fan mind. I'm talking about everything, football, fighting, anything. They can be so fickle.
Yes.
You can make one wrong mistake and all of a sudden you're the worst person in the world.
And I think fighting is the worst for it, in my opinion.
It can be, yeah.
I mean, from the UK perspective, look at how much love Anthony Joshua got, and then Andy Ruiz comes along, and suddenly he's no good.
It's terrible. And I'll be honest with you, I think people who do boxing or do fighting aren't them people. I think it's the people who have ever done it, and especially when it's like social media. Sometimes I'd never ever get involved ever. I don't really go on it. And when you'll listen after a night out, and they'll go, he's shite, or he's this, or he's that, and I think, oh God, he was the best thing since sliced bread when he was unbeaten. He's had one loss, and now all of a sudden he's no good. I just think how people come to that conclusion is beyond me.
I think someone once called those fair weather bitches.
Yeah, it's right. It's unbelievable. You've got to laugh at them, haven't you?
Yeah.
you've got to laugh. You've got to laugh.
And when it comes to Daniel Cormier as well, we have got a fantastic all-rounder. Obviously, Olympic level wrestler. You can't deny his ground game. I think his striking as well doesn't get as much love as what it should be. Because he's got fast hands for a heavyweight.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I think his wrestling is like sort of his...
go-to.
Yeah, but I think when you get that sort of... I don't want to say... Sometimes I love words like stigma type of thing. That's all it's attached to now, he's wrestling. People underestimate how good he is at everything else, you know what I mean? You don't become an all-round champion, whatever his record, one loss, it was 22 wins, one loss, of just being a wrestler.
I mean, the one that always sticks in my mind was when he fought Bigfoot at Strikeforce.
KO.
Yeah, and he was absolutely piecing apart. I mean, considering how big Bigfoot is as well.
Bigfoot. I mean, I followed Bigfoot for years before he got in the UFC because he trained at the Wolf Sled down in Liverpool, and he was the Cage Warriors champion, Cage Rage champion, I think Cage Warriors as well. And he had some massive knockouts on his record, massive. So it's as if he's knocked out a big lad who was also a wrestler, he's knocked out a striker in Bigfoot.
Because wasn't the fight before then for Bigfoot, wasn't that Fedor? So he beat Fedor.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And so once again, Bigfoot there, it wasn't as if he was finished. After Bigfoot beat Fedor, I think they thought he was gonna.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So DC is really, I think when you're saying about people not liking DC, I think what happened is people have come to realise how good he really was, and thought, hang on, he deserves respect, this man.
And I think as well, especially at heavyweight as well, because if you look at DC compared to the other heavyweights in the division, he is quite small for that division.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
What is he? He's what, 5'10"?
That's unbelievable. Yeah, he really is. He's a top athlete. I'm just thinking of something off the top of my head there. I remember when he was it Joe Rogan interviewed him, he started crying after a lot of people criticised him then. I remember a lot of hatred for him and calling him, but people obviously don't understand. He was crying, he was emotionally upset.
Yeah.
And I remember him
I have no issue with DC crying.
No, and I remember him getting absolutely slated. I just recalled that there. And like I said, now he's a fan favourite.
Yeah.
Which is good and rightly deserved, I think.
And he's going up against another fan favourite as well, Stipe Miocic. 18-3 record. Now, he was the longest reigning heavyweight champion in UFC history.
Is that right?
I don't know if it... No, I think Kane was the longest reigning, but Stipe has the most defences.
Right. Yes, I see what you see. All right. That still shocked us, but like looking back over the years, heavyweights, they don't seem to...
Overeem, JDS and Francis.
Yeah. Very good.
And he's beaten some absolute big names in the sport.
I like Stipe. I think he's... I do. And I know he got beat first round, but I think he maybe does deserve... We spoke about this also, haven't we?
It's actually what I was just going to bring on, because we have seen a lot of instant rematches. Do you think that Stipe deserves one? Because this is the sort of touch and go in my opinion.
I think because if I have to give someone an opinion, I'd put them in. I'd try to do it if it was in my shoes. If I was Stipe here and I was the champion, someone took my belt off us, and I had the chance, then okay. If I backed out and went, no, I don't think I'm right. I want to have another few wins. If I felt like I could avenge that loss, then I think I would have the right to do that, being the longest champion. Reigning champion or as many defences and getting a beat, whether it was first round or thing. I think and to be fair, another thing, what really is a major factor, if it isn't Stipe, who else has got DC got to fight at this moment in time?
At this moment in time, personally, I think the winner of this fight should be fighting Francis.
I think Stipe. No, I think. I can definitely see why people would say, well, no, he doesn't deserve another shot, but it might have been in the contract for a start, which I think it will have been. In fact, I'm 99.9% it will have been, because that's what generally happens to champions, to get the first sort of chance to go get it back. But I think DC's going to get it in a sense, but I do think I like Stipe, and I think he's give him his chance. And
the other factor as well was, for a long time there were the rumours that DC was going to fight Brock Lesnar.
Yes, there was. Well, always Brock. Yeah, Brock's been coming. I can't think of Brock now. It was John Jones, and it was DC. Then he was there. I think he will. I know he signed a massive contract over the WWE, but when it keeps going on about that, there's some truth in it.
Yeah.
And I think there is a comeback for him at one point. But I don't believe he should get a title fight.
No.
On his first fight back?
It would be too gimmicky.
Yeah.
I think when they brought him back for UFC 200 and he fought Mark Hunt, that's that sort of fight.
I think it would be disrespectful. Now, Stipe, if Brock had come back and fought DC for the title, unless Stipe turned the fight down, I would class that as disrespectful and a bit of that he got the fight before him.
I really want to see Brock versus Derek Lewis now.
Do you?
I do.
Well, I think, we've spoken about this before. I think whether he's a bit like I don't know, like something you love or hate, Brock. I think no matter who you want, I think anyone wants to see Brock fight. Whether because either you want to see him get beat or you want to just see him back because you like him.
You're always intrigued by Brock Lesnar fight.
Yeah. Or what he says after.
Yes. Going back to Stipe though, I think in terms of Stipe's strengths, it's nearly all to do with the striking.
Definitely.
Good volume puncher. And I think another factor of Stipe's stand-up that doesn't really get as much praise as it should, I think he has some of the best head movement in the division.
Yeah.
Because if you watch that fight against Francis and you look at the way that Francis has just been steamrolling everyone, and then you see Stipe's head movement is fantastic. And part of the reason Francis gasses himself out is because Stipe just doesn't give him the opportunity to connect.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic performance.
He's a good, like I say, he was a deserving champion. And like I say, I'm a big fan of his, to be honest with you. I'm a big fan of both theirs. So the fight makes... The way the fight doesn't make sense is because DC obviously won the first one in 3 minutes summit, but
it was a fight that arguably Stipe was winning up until that point.
Yeah, and also what happens in the first fight doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a repeat in the second fight.
And that's something that I was going to touch on about, because we've seen the first fight, and a big factor in the way that DC won that fight was he recognised Stipe always drops his hands coming out the clinch.
Yeah.
So throughout that first round, he's trying to clinch up with him.
Yeah.
Catches him 4 minutes into the first, clinches up, overhand comes in, drops him.
Yeah.
Stipe's not going to let that happen this time.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And I don't think... If it happens, then okay, DC will do it. But I don't think DC will be actually trying to go for that now, because he'll know Stipe won't fall for that, unless it just naturally comes, if that makes sense. Yeah. It'll be I don't know if you want us to do a prediction yet, but I would expect the same result, as in the DC win, but I don't think it's going to happen in that fashion at all.
No.
At all. I think it's going to be a hard fought fight, and I believe it's 5 rounds, isn't it? A title fight. That's a long time to go for the both of them. I'm
trying to think the times that both of them have gone the distance. I think Stipe did against JDS, which was in the first fight, which he lost, and DC went the distance against. I think he's done it against Gus and he's done it against John Jones. So he's 1-1 when it comes to 5 rounders.
Because it's a 5-rounder, there might be a stoppage in the late round of the 5th, but if not, it'll go the distance, and I think it'll be DC. But I'll be honest with you, I could see Stipe winning a round or two, or at least a round.
I'm going to go for Stipe.
Oh, yeah.
I think that Stipe he has the size advantage.
Yeah.
I think that he was having a lot of success with the stand-up.
Yeah.
I mean, DC was tagging him.
But I think it's just I've got to the point now where, apart from against Jones, I don't think I'll go up against DC as much, because he really is a full round. But Stipe is fantastic as well. I'd be happy with whoever wins, to be fair. I think they're both great athletes, both great fighters and people.
And what happens to the heavyweight division after this fight?
If who wins?
We'll say DC first, and then we'll say Stipe.
DC wins. I think you may be correct in him retiring, unless he wants the Jones fight, like you say, and Jones comes with the heavyweight. Stipe wins. Francis.
Yeah, I think Francis is going to be involved in that title picture in some way.
Yeah, I think Stipe, Francis, and I think DC Jones. If what you say and a lot of people say is correct about DC retiring, I think the only fight that would keep DC from retiring after this would be a rematch with John Jones, because he's got 1 loss on his record, and that 1 loss is that man.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you say, even if I was DC, I'd rather get beat of Jones again than not fight him, in the fact that I would have my chance to get that He might have another loss on his record, but it's the same man. He's got nothing to lose in fighting Jones again. That's what I'm trying to say. I think, apart from the fact that he would go out without being a heavyweight champion, but I think that would be the only way, in my eyes, would be the attraction to John Jones. Right, you've got the light heavyweight belt, come and get the heavyweight type of.
I think DC would be more dangerous to heavyweight.
Yeah, I do. But that's I do.
And I think that's part of the reason why John doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, I know. I can see that point again. But what I was saying about that is, Jones would be definitely better off fighting DC at light heavy, is in a fight. But the far as gold concerned, if I was offered a fight, if I was John Jones and someone said, right, you've got DC, you can either defend your title against him or go up and win another title. Which are you going to go for?
Exactly. And on the subject of gold, you'll need to tell us about this, Tim.
That's the Shogun welterweight British title. I won that in July. I'm fighting again in September on MTK Global against Mark Glover, so that won't be up for grabs. But beginning of next year, February or March, in the northeast somewhere, that'll be up for grabs. Who against, I don't know, but we'll see.
Do you carry that around the house with you?
No, I forget I have it, man. I forget. I've got however many amateur ones up in the attic. I forget, but I've got, like I say, I want to defend it. I want to be a proper champion. See who there is. See what happens after this fight as well in Liverpool. Like I say, that's not for the title, but it's nice to have a belt, isn't it? I think fighters are better than a good win against anyone's better than, and big promotions are better than a title. But I think it's nice to show the grandbands years to come.
Yes.
A belt. I think there's something a bit more than a medal. So, but yes. Happy with it.
I think 241 is going to be a very compelling card. Those top three fights especially.
It's got all the makings, and not just the top three. I think there's the whole main card has potential of being fantastic. But I know you're saying the top three are standouts. I think it could happen that they go boring, but no, I think if you tune into that, I don't think you're going to have a bad night in MMA.
Definitely a lot better than 240.
Yeah, I can't think of the last time we did a card as stacked as most recent this year, really, of compelling fights, really. Yeah. Especially, like I say, with comebacks. There's two comebacks there. We've got a big heavyweight fight that me and you. I think that's the only one we've disagreed on tonight.
I think it is, yeah.
I think we've agreed on everyone by the main event.
I think maybe 239 had more star power, but the fights themselves weren't as engaging.
No.
You can't say that about this.
No, definitely not. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah. And then, of course, in a month's time, it will be UFC 242. Khabib back in action. Abu Dhabi.
Quality. Be nice. Be good. I'm not sure who else on the fight card. I can't remember now.
I think the core main is Barboza Paul Felder.
Very good.
Which could be a very good fight.
Yes, very good. Very good. They're in for a treat that night, aren't they?
Certainly so. And I hope that you're in a treat for UFC 241. It has been an absolute pleasure to take you through all of the main card fights. My name's been Karl Bimmage. That's been Tim Close.
Thank you.
And we hope you enjoy UFC 241. Bye-bye for now.
Because you know I'm all about that cake and chicken. I'm all about that cake and chicken. I'm all about that cake and chicken. I'm all about that cake